My name is Anna, and this is the story of how one ordinary evening changed my life forever. It was one of those evenings in which I hoped that something could change, that a spark would rekindle the flame between me and Alessio. For months our relationship had slipped into monotony, and I felt more and more distant from him. I kept telling myself that it was his fault of work, his sudden trips, the late-night calls, his constant nervousness. I wanted to believe it was just stress, but deep down, I knew there was more. That evening I was preparing dinner. The scent of ragu filled the kitchen, but I felt empty. Alessio was in the living room, sitting on the sofa with his gaze glued to his phone. Every now and then he shook his head or cracked a smile, and I wondered what was so interesting that he forgot I was there, a few steps away from him. He was so distracted that, for a moment, his screen lit up, revealing a notification. If you want to know what I discovered that evening and how my life changed forever, subscribe to the channel. I had never spied on his cell phone. I had always told myself that trust was the basis of every relationship. But that evening something changed. An inner voice urged me to check. I approached with my heart beating wildly and read that message. "I can't wait to see you again, my love." Those words hit me like a bolt from the blue. I felt a wave of heat travel up my body, followed by a cold grip in my heart. The truth was there, in front of me. It wasn't the work. It wasn't the travel. There was another woman. I stood still for a few moments, trying to figure out whether I was dreaming or having a nightmare. I felt a lump choking my throat, but I managed to stay calm. I couldn't deal with it right away. I had to understand more. I had to know everything. That same night, while Alessio slept soundly next to me, with his regular breathing that I once found reassuring, I took his phone. My hands trembled as I typed in the unlock code, which I knew all too well. Access to his secret world was within reach, and what I found blew me away. Messages full of sweetness, photos taken in moments that I thought were only ours, videos of shared laughter. It was clear. He had been cheating on me for weeks, maybe months, with a certain Sophia. I didn't know this woman, but she was now part of our life, like a shadow that had crept in without me realizing it. Anger consumed me, like a fire raging out of control. Every word exchanged between them was a stab, every laugh a blow to the heart. I wondered how I could have been so blind, so naive. But the greatest pain was realizing that I had been living a lie all that time. The following morning, while Alessio was preparing for work with his usual indifference, I knew what I had to do. I wouldn't have remained silent. I wouldn't have let this go unnoticed. Alessio had to pay for every single lie, for every moment stolen from our lives. But I was not an impulsive woman. I would have planned everything calmly. It had to be something bigger, something unforgettable. I felt a determination growing inside me, a strength I didn't know I had. I would never let anyone walk all over me again. The last twist was the arrival of Matteo and Antonio, Luca's two closest friends. I had risked a lot by inviting them, but they were part of the plan. When they entered, a chill settled in the room, and a heavy silence fell between us. None of them knew what was happening, but they would find out soon. At that point, their looks began to become more confused, more suspicious. Alessio looked at me as if he wanted to ask me for explanations, while Francesco seemed amused by all that strangeness, an ironic smile painted on his face. But I was calm, because I knew that I would soon have total control of the situation. "Anna, what is this meeting?" Roberto asked, scrutinizing me with an uncertain smile. I gave him an enigmatic smile, letting the tension in the air expand. It's not just a meeting, I said, looking at the men sitting at my table one by one. It's a special evening for all of us. The tension in the air was palpable, like an overstretched rope ready to snap. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. It was the adrenaline, the awareness that I was the one maneuvering every detail, every move. None of them could imagine how deep my revenge was, how close they were to falling into my trap. With each passing second, I felt a strength growing inside me that I had never known before. At that point, Giacomo made a joke to break the silence. I didn't expect a surprise like this, Lisa. Does Marco know about this meeting? Just hearing Marco's name made my chest prick as if by a sharp blade, but I remained unperturbed. Mark? Oh, Marco has his secrets, but I have mine too, I replied with a coldness that froze the air around us. Their embarrassment was growing. Everything was going according to plan. I had them there, all gathered together, unaware of what was about to happen. The irony of that situation almost made me smile. Marco, at that moment, was probably with Julia, believing he could deceive me once again. But I was already one step ahead of him. That evening would be the beginning of something new, a dangerous game of secrets and lies. Now I was ready to take control. Their expressions became tense. They understood that something was not going according to the usual scripts. Paolo, always the boldest one, made another attempt to lighten the mood. Well, Lisa, if there's a surprise, I'd say we're all curious to find out. I slowly rose from the table, walking around the room with the glass of wine in hand. I could feel their eyes on me, attentive to my every move, every word. Tension was exactly what I wanted to create, and I fed off their nervousness. Every step I took was calculated to heighten the suspense. Do you want to know what the surprise is? I said, in a tone that I knew would heighten anticipation. Well, it's not just a dinner with friends. It's not just a normal night. I stopped behind Giacomo, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. He froze for a moment, then looked at me with a questioning, almost fearful look. The silence that followed was deafening as everyone waited for my next step. Alessio, perhaps the most innocent among them, was visibly confused. He looked at the other men as if he was trying to figure out what connection they all had with me. And Paul? He was smiling, but there was something in his eyes that betrayed his curiosity and suspicion. You see, I continued, each of you is here for a reason. It wasn't accidental. I wanted you all to be here because there is something you need to know. I paused, long enough for the tension to build. Every second of silence was a blade that sank into their certainties. I chose you, I said, looking at them one by one, but not because of what you think. It was at that moment that I saw their confusion turn to restlessness. It was clear that none of them fully understood what was happening, but they felt that they were about to be involved in something much bigger than just a dinner. Giacomo cleared his throat, trying to maintain control. Chosen for what, Lisa? What are you talking about? I smiled at him, a cold, calculating smile. Every muscle in my face conveyed calm and determination. Of the truth, of what I discovered. At those words, the atmosphere in the room changed dramatically. I could hear Paolo's heavy breathing, while Alessio seemed about to get up. Giacomo and Roberto exchanged a worried look, as if they knew they were about to enter a much more complex game than they imagined. Has Marco ever told you about Sophia? I asked, throwing the name into the air like a bomb. The silence that followed was heavy, almost tangible. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Paolo, always the first to react, tried to hide his surprise. Sophia? Who is this Sophia? I knew none of them would admit to knowing this woman, but the simple fact that they did made it all the more interesting. I approached the table and put the glass down, looking Alessio in the eyes. Every word I was about to say would change the course of the evening. "Sophia is the woman Marco is cheating on me with," I said without batting an eye. Every syllable was a blow, every pause a thrust. "And you are here because I know everything. I've known what's been going on for months, and I know I can no longer live a life of lies." The reaction was instant. Giacomo stood up agitated, his hands visibly shaking. "Lisa, wait, there is a misunderstanding here. We know nothing about this story." "Don't worry," I reassured them, in a tone that was more of a command than a consolation. "You are not here to be accused. You are here for a very different reason. You see, I don't care about Marco anymore. I don't care about his lies anymore. I decided to take my life into my own hands." Alessio seemed more confused than ever, while Paolo still tried to maintain his casual attitude. But by now, they knew that there was something dark behind that dinner. "So what's the plan, Lisa?" Paolo asked with a smile, trying to hide his nervousness. "If this is revenge, I have to say it's pretty elaborate." I gave him a cold look, the kind of look that freezes the blood in your veins. "It's much more than revenge, Paolo. It's a liberation from Marco, from his lies, and from all of you." The atmosphere became even more tense. Roberto leaned forward, crossing his arms on the table, as if to protect himself from an imminent attack. "All of us. I don't understand what you mean." I sat back down, taking a deep breath. I knew I was on the verge of making a decisive move, one that would change everything. Every fiber of my being screamed for action, but I had to be patient. The real twist would come soon, but not now. I had to keep them on their toes a little longer, make the sense of uncertainty grow. Every moment of waiting was one more piece in the mosaic of my revenge, and I enjoyed seeing them sink deeper and deeper into anguish. "Don't worry," I said in a reassuring tone. Their silence was palpable, full of tension. I enjoyed that moment, knowing that they were completely in my hands. I had the power to decide their fate, to manipulate their emotions, as Marco had done with me. Finally, I was in command of a game I had carefully planned. Every glance I met gave me strength, as if the uncertainty in their eyes fueled my courage. There was no more room for fear or indecision. Roberto, with his usual diplomatic manner, attempted to take control of the conversation. "Lisa, we understand that you are angry, but perhaps we can talk, find a solution." I looked at him, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for him. He truly believed there was an easy way out, an explanation that could end everything with a handshake. But I was well beyond that point. The anger and pain I had accumulated were too deep to be healed with words. "A solution," I repeated, moving closer to him. "Of course there is a solution, but it's not what you think." I ran my gaze over each of them, one at a time. I saw confusion, nervousness, but also a spark of curiosity in their eyes. They wanted to understand where I was going, but they had no idea of the vortex I was about to drag them into. I felt the adrenaline growing inside me. Every word spoken was a tightrope that they couldn't help but follow. "You are here," I continued, my voice soft but firm, "because I need to free myself from everything, from every lie, from every betrayal. And my revenge, believe me, it will be sweet." Paolo leaned forward slightly with his usual sly smile. "You're not going to tell me you're here to punish us, are you?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. I looked him straight in the eyes. "Punish you? Oh no, I'm here to enjoy every moment of this. to enjoy you." Their eyes met, and their minds were probably starting to speculate. No one moved, as if they were under a spell, unable to understand what was happening. And then, without saying anything else, I slowly approached Paolo. He didn't move, perhaps out of pride, perhaps out of curiosity, perhaps because he thought it was a game. But that game was about to take a completely unexpected turn. When I was close enough, I whispered in his ear, "Do you want to know what happens when a woman is cheated on?" I heard his breathing quicken, but he didn't respond. So I made my move. I placed my lips on his neck, a light kiss that raised the tension level in the room. Paolo remained still, but I felt his body tense for a moment before relaxing. Giacomo cleared his throat, obviously uncomfortable, but none of them moved to stop me. Roberto, on the other hand, was observing carefully, trying to understand if it was time to intervene. But he couldn't stop what was about to happen. I stepped away from Paolo, letting the moment drag on, then looked at everyone else, one by one. "You know," I said slowly, "Marco chose to betray me, but I chose to overcome it, my way." Matteo, until then the quietest, took a step forward. "What do you mean, Lisa?" I approached him, looked into his eyes, and without hesitation, placed my lips on his. It was a long, passionate, unrestrained kiss. I felt his breath mix with mine, while his hands, hesitant at first, began to explore my back. The desire that I had repressed all that time exploded. But it wasn't for Matteo. It wasn't even for them. It was for my revenge, and that kiss was just the beginning. When I pulled away from him, I saw the shock on everyone's faces, but no one dared say a word. I stopped to look at them, savoring the confusion growing in their eyes. It was a triumph, a moment in which my strength was reflected in their doubts. "At this point," I said, slowly sitting back down, "I guess you understand where I'm going with this. Marco cheated on me, and I decided to return the favor. I'm just going to do it differently." Paolo raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" "Simple," I replied, the tone of my voice growing dark and firm. "Tonight, all of you will be part of my revenge." Roberto's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" I looked at them one by one. Yes, Marco hurt me, but I am no longer the same woman who cheated. Tonight I will betray him, with all of you. There will be no secrets, no lies. It will all be out in the open. The silence in the room was total. I had surprised them, shocked them, but I knew that deep down none of them would have resisted the temptation. "Are you ready?" I asked, letting the silence do the talking for them. And one by one they gave up on my plan. That night was the beginning of the end, or perhaps for me the beginning of a new life, a life in which I would no longer be a victim, but a protagonist. And Marco, in the end, knew everything. There were no more secrets. There were no more lies. Just perfect revenge carried out in the most surprising way possible. The night had passed in a whirlwind of emotions, intrigue, and ill-advised decisions. Every detail of what happened was etched in my mind, like a painting steeped in pain and strength. My body and mind were in a state of exaltation that I had never felt before. It was as if I had finally regained control over every aspect of my life, after months of feeling lost, betrayed, and manipulated. But now, I was the one holding the reins of the game. When the following morning arrived, the light filtering through the windows almost seemed too soft a contrast compared to the intensity of the night just experienced. I got out of bed, my body still tired, but my mind clear. I looked at the men around me, each of them lost in sleep, unaware of what would happen next. Every quiet breath I felt was a testament to the power I had wielded, a demonstration of my new beginning. I knew that Marco would return soon, and I also knew that the moment of reckoning was near. I wasn't interested in hiding anything anymore. What I had done was a deliberate choice, cold-blooded revenge, and I had no intention of taking anything back. I felt no remorse, just a kind of cold satisfaction that gave me the strength to face what was to come. When the sound of the key in the door alerted me to his arrival, my heart beat faster, but not out of fear. I was ready. Marco entered the house with his usual ease, unaware of the storm that awaited him. When he saw me sitting on the sofa, with my cold and calculating gaze, he immediately understood that something was different. "Lisa," he asked uncertainly, "what happened?" I motioned for him to sit down, and he did so, albeit with some hesitation. The silence between us was heavy, full of things left unsaid. "Have you ever wondered what would happen if I found out everything?" I asked him, breaking the ice with a low but firm voice. His face changed color. "What are you talking about?" "I knew about Julia," I said simply. "I knew everything. For months I waited for the right moment. And now, Marco, that time has come." I saw the terror grow in his eyes, but he still tried to stay calm. "Lisa, wait. We can talk." "No," I interrupted, my voice sharp as a knife. "There's nothing left to talk about. You betrayed our trust. You destroyed our marriage. And now I'm the one who destroyed you." I explained everything to him, every detail of the previous night, every man, every moment. I told him my revenge as coldly as he had planned his betrayals, and I watched as his face contorted between shock, anger, and disgust. I had removed the veil of hypocrisy surrounding us, and for the first time I saw him for exactly what he was, a man who had never imagined he could be hurt the way he had hurt me. "Why?" was all he could say, his voice cracking. "Because I had to get rid of you," I replied without batting an eye. "And I did it. I made sure you felt exactly what I felt. The difference is that I don't need to hide anything anymore." I stood up, grabbing my coat and heading towards the door. "I don't know what you'll do now, Marco, but I know what I'll do. I'm leaving. I don't need you anymore, and I don't need this marriage. You've lost me." His words chased me as I walked out, but I didn't listen to them. I had won, not only over him, but also over myself. I had overcome the suffering, I had faced the betrayal, and I had come out stronger. As I walked into my new life, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Marco would be left with the memory of that night. And me? I would have moved forward, free. Revenge, after all, was only the beginning. If you want to receive new videos of the series, write, "I want the sequel," in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to receive a preview of the next publications. Thank you.